Hey everyone, welcome back to the Thundertron podcast. So today I'm discussing and giving my thoughts on several brand new Transformers 2 series figures that were revealed with our Transformers Thursday. So let's start off with the very first one. We have the Transformers 2 series Voyager Class 86 Autobot Ratchet. So the price is $35. The release date is November 1st. And if you do have the original Voyager Class 86 Ironhide, you know exactly what to expect here. They're pretty much just taking that mold, adding a brand new head sculpt. The accessories are the same, and of course a brand new deco or color scheme. Of course, having those white colors, the red, the blue, I think it looks pretty cool. I actually did quite like that Voyager Ironhide mold. I think it was a really good improvement over the Earthrise and the Siege one, so I think I'll probably be picking this one up. I really wouldn't say it's a priority. I would definitely say there's some other figures that I did purchase or pre-order today that are definitely higher than this one, but if I ever do see this in store or maybe online for clearance or something like that, I probably will be picking this up. But as I mentioned before, the accessories are the same. Those two silver simple blasters. The head sculpt is brand new. The arms, the legs are pretty much all the same, of course, just a brand new deco. I do think there is an added light piece in the sort of ambulance, kind of emergency vehicle mode, but that's the only other change in that mode. All other areas are the same, just that added light piece. I really do like the transparent blue plastic. I actually think that looks really good. Unfortunately, you can see a bit of kibble in the front. That was always one of my complaints with Ironhide as well. He had that same sort of transparent plastic as well, and you could see a bit of the head and some kibble in there, so that wasn't always the greatest. But all the other areas where it actually had that kind of, transparent window detailing, it actually looked really good. And of course, we do have the packaging, really nice artwork shot on the front of Ratchet with his blasters. This is the, I think, the 23rd figure, part of the 86 subline series, and it transforms in 25 steps, and it does come with an included backdrop. I'm pretty sure it's the same one that came with Brawn, because they're pretty much including a very iconic, classic scene of Ratchet, which would be the shuttle scene, of course, when he dies. So I'm pretty sure it's that same backdrop, I think, just slightly bigger, because, Brawn was a deluxe, this is a Voyager. So if you do have Brawn, you kind of know what to expect with that backdrop. It's still a nice inclusion. And that's really all I'm going to say for Ratchet, because it's definitely not the most interesting of the figures that were actually revealed today. So let's get into the next one. I'm actually going to talk about the Transformers 2 series Rise of the Beast Nightbird, which people are definitely looking down on. I do have to say, a major disappointment for me. There is some things I like about it. I do think there's quite a few things that are much better than this version, than the mainline one, because the mainline one, the colors were inaccurate. Definitely was a bit more simplistic than this one. One thing I really don't like about both of them is they only come with one sword, and the sword is very inaccurate, but I'll get into my thoughts in just a sec. I do have to discuss the release date. The release date is November 1st, 2023, and the price is $25. So getting into my thoughts, I think the head sculpt actually looks very accurate to the movie or the film. I think they did a really good job with that. I think the color scheme is much better than the mainline release. It was very inaccurate with that figure. It didn't look bad. The color scheme didn't look bad, but if they were going for movie accuracy, that was not good. I do think the proportions are way off. The entire backpack and chest is really chunky and big. The arms and the legs are super skinny and long, and it just doesn't work. Also, I think the wings are just poor excuses for wings. I know she didn't have, full on, huge wings like, Predaking would have from, Transformers Prime or anything like that, but she did have somewhat of, a thruster type wing. And I guess, spoiler alert, but in the film, of course, Bumblebee actually does rip one off and pretty much stab her with it, and she explodes. And it does have a wing on this. It does have two small itty bitty wings, but they're just really sad, poor excuses for wings. So I think they were just being very cheap and lazy. I do like the inclusion of the sword, but I do have two complaints on that. One, it should have come with two, because she actually did have two in the film. Also, it's inaccurate. It was actually kind of a yellowish, almost green mixture in the film. I guess I could be slightly picky on the, the color of the sword. That might be a bit too nitpicky of me, but it would have been nice if it at least came with two. That really would have been nice, because we see her use two pretty much a majority of the film. She never really has a blaster that I can remember of. She pretty much always uses those swords, and occasionally she actually used a bomb or kind of a detonator or kind of a explosive device, and that actually would have been a really nice inclusion. I wouldn't be as bothered if she actually came with a small bomb to replace that second sword, but that isn't even included, so I really don't know why this couldn't come with two accessories, considering of course both of them would be identical weapons. They wouldn't have to create an entire new mold or a new weapon. They could just include two identical simple weapons. Again, the head sculpt actually does look really good. I think from the front on profile, it doesn't look too bad, but there is a very massive backpack, which that is one thing I do like on the mainline, mainline release over this one. That one doesn't have as nearly as much back kibble as this one, but as far as accuracy goes, they did a much better job with this one. I probably won't be picking this up, maybe, possibly. Again, it's kind of like Ratchet, where it's probably not a priority purchase for me, because there's quite a few other items from these releases, and of course future releases, that I'm definitely looking forward to a lot more. I actually do have to say, keep in mind, there probably will be very soon the HasLab for Transformers revealed. I think they said it was going to be revealed like fall sometime, I think, so probably maybe at PulseCon or maybe slightly after. So I would say definitely limit your purchases. Like, if you really do like the sniper, of course, go right ahead. I don't want to discourage you, but keep in mind there's definitely much more interesting figures that were released and revealed today, and also of course there will be much more expensive and interesting figures released in the future, like that HasLab. So I'm really trying to kind of conserve money, because I don't really know how expensive that HasLab is going to be. But there is some things I like about it, so maybe if I ever find a person, again, like Ratchet, on sale or on clearance, maybe I'll give it a shot. Maybe I can change my mind once the reviews are out, but there is some things, of course, that I know I'm not going to change my mind about, like the sword accessory and the wings. There's no way I'm going to change my mind about that. I really don't know what they were thinking with that. But getting into the next figure, we're actually going to go to the core class scale, which I actually kind of realized something which I didn't notice before, because all these figures were actually kind of shown off, and revealed at Santa Comic-Con, but we never really had the best images, or the best information. We had no price information, no release date information, so this is kind of an update video. But I actually kind of noticed, I think this Noah Diaz core class figure might be sharing some pieces from the core class Iguanas. I might be crazy and wrong, but the entire pretty much leg region looks very similar in design and molding to Iguanas. So they might have taken the legs from Iguanas, and of course everything else is different. I could be wrong. It just looks from the front view and the side view looks very similar to Iguanas's legs. I could be wrong. I don't know. Let me know if you think that or see that in the comments below. But this is the Transformers Series Core Class Rise of the Beast Noah Diaz exosuit, which I actually have to say, this looks like pretty promising. Of course, it is stylized. He does have wings. He does transform, which is a Transformer. It has to transform. They couldn't have just released it, as a non-transforming figure. If they were to do that, of course, they would have to include probably with another figure like Optimus Prime, or maybe like Optimus Primal, kind of like how they did it with that wheelie, with Grimlock, the 86 Grimlock. They included a wheelie, but it didn't transform, and quite a few people did not like that, myself included. So, honestly, this probably would be the best and only way to actually make a Noah Diaz figure. Yes, it is somewhat inaccurate, but actually I did hear and see, I'm pretty sure you can actually remove pretty much the entire back kibble or like the wing piece from the figure, so you can somewhat make it more accurate to the film. I guess you could in a way call that parts forming. I've never really been bothered about parts forming, so it doesn't affect me in any way, but I guess it's actually kind of nice to somewhat make it more accurate. But even if it wasn't removable, I actually kind of like it. The wings are a pretty cool touch. I do like the metallic blue. I do like the very futuristic helmet. I definitely do prefer this helmet. Again, inaccurate to the film, because in the film, if you don't know, you could actually see, Anthony Ramos' face in the suit. This actually has an entire mask. They could have attempted to maybe, actually sculpt in his face, his human face. I think that would look a bit odd. So probably of the two ways they could have done it, this probably would look better in the end. I don't know. They've actually done human characters, like, small miniature characters and stuff like this before. Maybe it would look better than I'm expecting or thinking, but this is probably the safer route. I do like the inclusion of the really cool blade and the blaster. The plane looks okay, of course. It's just fine. Definitely not the main reason why people are going to be buying this figure or this core class. Again, they kind of really had, pretty much free creative room to really do whatever they want, because he never transformed in the film. Some people actually thought maybe they're going to use this mode in the next film, the second Rise of the Beast film, or maybe the third one. Maybe he could actually transform. That'd be pretty cool. I really wouldn't put it past him, because, in the original 1986 film, Daniel, he transformed into that small little, kind of golf cart, sort of little speeder, kind of scooter thing. It was really small. I'm not really sure exactly what it was supposed to be. It was some sort of vehicle mode. So I think they could kind of do the same thing with this. I think that'd be pretty cool to happen in the film. And the price, of course, I already discussed the price and release date. December 1st, $12. And it transforms in 7 steps. I think I probably will give this one a chance. I actually think it looks pretty cool. But getting into the other core class figures, we actually do have one that's not really as interesting. It's the Transformers 2 Series core class Rise of the Beast. Hopefully I'm pronouncing this correctly, Novocaine. The price is $12. The release date is December 1st. Most likely will change because this is just a repaint retool of Freezer, which I thought was a good core class figure. Very creepy, very alien in nature. I did like the forearms, and the very skinny, weird proportions. This one, the only differences are, I think, a few added paint apps, and there is a slightly kind of damaged area on the head, which I think is pretty cool. I'm actually really glad they somewhat made an alternate version of Freezer. I think it would have been a perfect opportunity to include some accessories, because in the movie, they actually kind of had these little sort of shuriken kind of spinning blade weapons, and they didn't use them all the time, but they actually did have them. They had these little sort of daggers on Freezer. I'm not sure... they could have been cheap. They could have just sculpted them in the arm, or they could have actually included an accessory. That complaint, of course, really isn't specific to Novocaine, really just the other Freezer core class in general. It really should have come with some weapon. It would have been nice. I think it would have been a nice touch. I probably won't get this because I already do have Freezer, but if you do want to, maybe army build, this is a perfect opportunity, to get some different core classes, not just like 5 of the same Freezer. You can actually have some that are damaged, some that are not. My only one complaint with Freezer is that the joints were really loose. All of the joints were ball joints, so they were very, very loose. That could have just been my copy, I really don't know. So maybe they can improve some of the tolerances and the joint tightness on this version of the mold. But I do like the damaged eye. That is pretty cool. But I probably won't be getting this core class. One core class figure that I will be getting, which I'm actually surprised to see is sold out, we actually do have the Transformers 2 Series Core Class 86 Frenzy. So, as you'd expect, they just took that original Rumble figure, that Rumble mold, and just repainted it into red. This molding is the same, the accessories are the same, just done in that kind of black and red deco, which I actually think looks really cool. I've always actually really liked Rumble over Frenzy, because blue is my favorite color, so that's probably why, but I'm definitely going to get this one. I did purchase it, because they'll actually look really cool to have them side by side. A huge improvement over their Siege counterparts, because those core class figures or Micromasters didn't even come with their pile drivers, didn't even come with blasters, so this is a huge improvement. My only one complaint that I've always had with this these cassettes is the pricing, because they're, I would say, about half the size of a generic, typical core class figure, and they're priced at the same. That being said, it does come with 4 accessories, which is pretty cool to see for a core class figure. Some deluxes, don't even come with 2, like, the Nightbird, she only comes with 1, and she's a deluxe. This comes with 4. Do I think that justifies the, $13 to $12 price point? No, I don't. I think this should be at the most maybe 10 or 9. I know they typically, Hasbro likes to keep, a set pattern of the classes and, the pricing, because they don't want to surprise people. But I think for, these 2 core class figures, Rumble and Frenzy, they definitely should have cost less. What they could have done to maybe make it easier is they could have actually released both of them together, because I think probably 90% of the Transformers community, if you're going to buy Rumble, you're going to buy Frenzy, and vice versa. So they could have just done like a 2-pack. They could have just packaged, both of Rumble and Frenzy together, and maybe they could have done it as, like, I don't know, 15 or 16. I think that would have been fine. 2 small core class figures with 8 accessories would have been a good price for $18. I think that would have made sense. I will get it, but I won't like the price. I will complain about that in the review, just as I did with Rumble. I will get it because, of course, they're probably not going to make another Frenzy and Rumble for quite some time. I mean, the last one they made was Siege, which was quite a while ago, like 5 plus years ago, so I'm just going to get it. But getting into the other figures, one really interesting one, I think this is the last one of this video. I think you probably know what I'm going to talk about. It's the first Commander Class figure, a part of the Studio Series line. It's the Transformers Studio Series 86 Commander Class Ultra Magnus. This is the 21st figure, a part of the 86 subline, and it looks just so good. It looks amazing. Just, it's blowing my mind. But the release date is November 1st, and the price is $90. Unfortunately, it's November 1st. Quite a few people were actually theorizing and thinking it was going to be October 1st, but I guess that information was inaccurate, or maybe they just delayed it. But still, November 1st really isn't that bad. Do keep in mind with, past Commander Class figures, and just waves in general, that's really not that bad. Because, with Armada, Optimus Prime, we had to wait, good 3 or 4 months. I think maybe even more. I can't remember the exact day it was released, but it was quite a while we had to wait for that figure, of course depending on where you got it from. But Hasbro, I think it was a good 4 months wait, so this is about 2-ish months sort of, which really isn't that bad. Would I prefer it to be October 1st? Of course, any day, but it just looks so cool. It's $90, which is, yes, a heavy price tag, but do keep in mind with these Commander Class figures, typically in most cases, not including Jetfire, you're usually paying for the engineering, the amount of, how intricate it is, the, articulation, the accessories, not really the size. Jetfire, you probably were paying more for size because it's very big. It was like, 16, 17 inches tall. This one will definitely not be, I'm assuming, as tall as Jetfire, but I think he'll probably still be a good height. Definitely bigger than, I would say a Leader, or a Voyager. It does say it transforms in 43 steps, which is crazy amount of steps. It does say 9.5 inches according to the Hasbro description, which I would say is a good decent size. But just getting into my thoughts on all the features and functions, this might take a while because there's just so many, but it looks so cool, very accurate to the G1 Ultra Magnus we know and love. Love the design, the really cool, shoulder missiles, very classic for Ultra Magnus, probably one of his most iconic weapons. I do love the very nice light blue and white and red. One thing I'm really glad about is that he does not have that inner robot. I think it did work for Siege for a time, but then, they kept just making Ultra Magnus after Ultra Magnus and just kept having that same feature. And yes, it was a nice feature at the time for Siege, but it got old, because they made a Shatterglass repaint, they made a Kingdom repaint, they made a Netflix repaint, and they all had that same feature. So it was getting pretty stale and pretty old. And also because of that inner robot, I do think the other modes definitely sacrificed because of that, because it was very chunky, there was quite a bit of kibble, the truck mode was just okay, so the feature was cool, but it definitely affected other modes. So I'm actually really glad they just scrapped that entire thing, and I think this actually looks just amazing. It does apparently have articulated fingers. I'm not sure if every single one of them is individually articulated. From what I can tell, I do think the pointer finger, the index finger, is separate. I'm not sure about the other ones because there's only a few images where it actually shows the hands. From what I've heard, quite a few of them are, but it might be kind of like the typical case. It might be like Commander Class Rodimus Prime, where one of the fingers is separate, and the other ones are kind of joined together on like one hinge. But still, any articulation in the hands is really good to see. He does come with 2 blasters. I think it's just 2. One of them being, I think, is like the little sort of welding torch, they used to actually repair the shuttle before it exploded in the 1986 film. He also does come with that classic silver rifle, which we typically see with Ultra Magnus, which is really cool to see. He also does come with some blaster pieces. I'm pretty sure they're the exact same ones that came with Omega Supreme. So if you missed out on that Titan class figure and you really like those blaster pieces, you have another opportunity to get them now. I'm pretty sure they are the exact same molding, but I think they took away that kind of magma type look to it. I think they're just a solid red this time, which I'm actually kind of glad. I think it worked for Omega Supreme, but I actually kind of like the more simple, classic look for Ultra Magnus here. He does come with a Matrix with a sort of semi-spring-loaded feature. I'm not sure how it officially works, but I can sort of tell what it's supposed to do. And I think the Matrix is, I'm pretty sure, like the same mold that we've seen, in the past, like the one that came with Rodimus, Optimus Prime. So if you have those figures, you kind of know what to expect with this one. But I think the spring feature is like when you lift up this little piece on the chest, the doors to the Matrix chamber, I think, are supposed to kind of like swing open. No one's actually ever really seen it in person or in video yet. Just from what I can tell, the packaging images, I think that's how it was supposed to work. But a spring-loaded feature is really cool because it's been quite some time of, a modern-day toy that I can remember we've actually had a spring-loaded feature. So that's pretty cool to see. Hopefully, they can do more of these in the future. And also, you can actually pretty much rip them apart, kind of like you do with the Junkions and the modulators. You can remove all the limbs. So you can actually recreate that scene from the 1986 film when the Decepticons or Cyclonus and Galvatron shoot at him and he kind of explodes. So that's a pretty fun feature. I do have a bit of concern. I do hope the joints and the connections are really secure for that, because typically, from my experiences with the modulators and the Junkions, sometimes since they are removable, you can pretty much rip apart like any piece and limb from the figure. It's a fun feature, but unfortunately the tolerances do sometimes suffer because of that. So hopefully it's not just a post-import. Hopefully it actually like locks into place like really securely, because I really don't want loose joints on a Commander class figure. So hopefully it's a really tight, good, secure connection. It's a fun feature, but I probably won't use it that much, truth be told. We do have this truck mode, which looks so cool. Another thing that unfortunately did happen on the Siege one, because of that whole, separate robot gimmick, is there was a lot of kibble in the entire trailer, so there was never really an open trailer or area to actually store other alt modes. This one actually has that feature. You can actually store some figures on the top and inside the trailer, which is pretty cool. And there's actually kind of a flip down ramp, which is just awesome. And I have to say, I'm pretty impressed with this, because it's a pretty hard, figure and design to do, to have, one robot transform into not only a truck and a trailer, but pretty much have them separate pieces, but also not. So I will give Hasbro props. Even if whenever we get this figure, it's just okay, I'm still going to give them props, because it's a pretty hard design to do, to have the trailer and the figure be one piece. Optimus Prime, it's really easy, because the trailer is not really embedded within the figure. It can be an entire separate piece. Ultra Magnus has never been that, so it's pretty hard to do. I'm pretty sure they said you can do like 2 deluxes inside the trailer and like 2 deluxes on top. It might be some combination like that, and you can probably, maybe swap out 1 deluxe for several core class figures. You can really, kind of make your own combination, which is pretty cool. And packaging has a huge artwork shot of Ultra Magnus with his rifle. I think it's supposed to be recreating, that attack on Autobot City, which is really nice. And I think that is what the included backdrop is. It's the attack on Autobot City. So I think that looks really cool. And yeah, 43 steps. Wow, that is going to be one complex transformation. So that is it for all the figures. Please do let me know what you think of these figures in the comment section down below. All of them are in stock except Frenzy for some reason. I would think of all the ones to be sold out are Ultra Magnus, but he is still in stock. So I would definitely say of all of them, get Ultra Magnus, because he just looks like an amazing Commander class figure. Will he be my favorite? I don't know. I'll have to wait until I get him in hands. But this is the very first Commander class figure of Stu Series, so a very big deal. Hopefully they can make some more in the future. Maybe they can make, I don't know, a new Skylynx. Maybe they can make a new Grimlock. Honestly, the ideas and the figures they could do, pretty much the list is endless. But I really do hope you enjoyed this news video. This wasn't, of course, new figures. We did know about these, from Standard Comic Con. I just really wanted to do an updated video with the actual accurate information and my final thoughts on these before they actually release. Let me know which ones you're going to pick up and which ones you're going to pass on. Right now, the only ones I actually did purchase of today were Ultra Magnus and Frenzy, and that was it. I'm really going to try and, save and conserve my money. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time.